Richard from Aquicore again. As we discussed in our last video, acquiring data can be challenging. Aquicore is focused heavily on designing, implementing, and learning from our many portfolio data capture projects for clients. To build a successful data strategy, we found that you must first have a clear understanding of the data sources that make sense for the type of asset and lease structures that you have across your portfolio. You also need to know your business objectives for the data. Not all data sources are equal, and what you hope to accomplish will impact the types of data that you need to gather. In this series, we're walking you through the most common utility data sources that you might encounter when designing a data strategy for your portfolio. In this specific video, I'll explain the pros and cons of real-time energy data, which asset types it applies to, and its main use cases. Let's get started. The data source most often used to enhance the day-to-day operational efficiency of a given building, and which is widely regarded as among the most accurate sources of data, is real-time meter data. How it works is pretty simple. The utility meter serving the building transmits live data about the energy being consumed to a cloud platform. This is usually accomplished via IoT devices, which aggregate the meter data on-site and then serve that data up to the platform in 15-minute intervals. If you've ever seen an office building load curve over the course of a day, you know that it generally looks like a parabola, matching the site's occupancy. As the building equipment comes on in the morning, the load increases to a peak as set points are reached, then flatlines or gradually declines throughout the day, coming back down in the evening to a base load as tenants leave and the equipment shuts down. So why is real-time meter data important? Well, if you're the building owner or operator, you want to improve the energy efficiency, find and resolve issues, or measure and validate the impact of operational changes and other projects, then you are generally going to need access to real-time meter data. This is because the real-time data is delivered and displayed in frequent enough increments for you to be able to filter out the noise, isolating energy consumption sources, spot potential problems, and analyze energy impact of changes made over time. Data that arrives already rolled up into monthly increments, such as on your utility bill, does not have the level of granularity that is needed to optimize operations. Lots of things can happen in your building within the 30-day period of consumption, and you need to be able to parse all of them out to understand where you might have a problem or an opportunity. Real-time data also tends to avoid some of the common issues you'll run into with utility bills. Unlike bills, real-time data can often be captured directly from triple net assets without needing tenant authorization or involvement, meaning this is a more accessible form of data for a broader range of asset types. Also, since real-time data is collected automatically from meters or submeters, it is also removing the risk of error due to manual entry that can come from handling of utility bills. This means that in addition to being more accessible, it's generally also more accurate. Finally, real-time data also makes it possible to separate out tenant loads from landlord-controlled loads or separately meter on-site solar generation and specific load types such as a central plant. This can all be enormously helpful when managing on-site operations, making the case for capital improvements, and at a higher level, monitoring and reporting your carbon emissions by scope. We're going to focus now into one asset type that can really benefit from real-time meter data. That's industrial. Since industrial properties usually operate under triple net leases, they experience many unique challenges. Lack of information about the physical asset itself, site access, and tenant data privacy concerns are all among the common barriers that industrial owners may run into when trying to manage and report on the energy performance of their assets or portfolio. This is where the real-time meter data strategy can really help. Here are our top 3 successful tips for enabling real-time data collection from industrial properties. Tip number 1. Request guidance on how to design a benchmarking-ready site when a property is in development. Aquicore can provide recommendations and installations of AccuWeb-enabled meters on the landlord-owned switchgear so that data is already available to you prior to tenant occupancy. Now, of course, most industrial property managers are looking for data solutions for buildings that are already occupied. So number 2 tip is to ask tenants to sign a letter of authorization with their utility company to allow for the installation of pulse outputs, which we can then attach an AccuInstalled IoT device, which was discussed earlier. When we make this request of tenants, we always reassure them that this does not expose any of their financial data or provide us with access to their utility accounts. We've found this communication to be crucial for tenant cooperation. Property managers usually know their tenants' level of receptiveness to requests like this and whether it should be attempted. So we like to work together with our property managers to determine the best fit. Tenant authorization is also something that can be folded in as a green lease provision. So if you're already in the process of bringing on new tenants, this is something you may want to consider upfront. Our number 3 solution is to scope and shadow meter. This is a catch-all solution to data capture if a direct utility connection is not viable. A shadow meter is essentially a sub-meter installed to mirror the utility metered load. During the scoping phase, Aquicore's national electrical partner physically reviews each property in the portfolio to determine where and how to install economically and with the least tenant impact. As each property is scoped, the appropriate hardware is ordered and installation is scheduled by Aquicore. This installation usually takes no more than 4 hours on site, and once the system is installed, it will continue to provide a fully automated benchmarking data service for the life of the building. Multifamily operators face many of the same challenges as industrial, but with the added challenge of usually having many utility meters. The cost to shadow meter each of these units' utility meters would often be excessive. So to keep our customers' costs low, our electricians are trained to look for points where a single master meter can be installed to capture many utility meters within compliance of the utility company. As an extra tip, we recommend pairing your real-time data with a technology solution that can help you make the best of it. Whether you need to calculate your portfolio's carbon footprint, stay in compliance with regulations, or find cost-effective ways to make progress towards your energy and carbon targets, technology solutions like Aquicore will ensure that you are getting the most value from your data and are equipped to take action on the insights that it reveals. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll be covering equipment-level BMS data that will allow you to access the most granular insights about your building's performance.